is you got to respect people you disagree with, and you can't just dismiss people.
How do you fight it?
This
I
notion
think
of
I could kick most of their ass. I do think that if they wanted to. I know I can outrun them, but I don't know if we're going to fall into that place where we want to. Okay, we challenge you to a WWE fight here type of thing.
Counter it, but it's a natural reaction. I think it's one of the reasons we're losing so many men. And again, it's multi-ethnic. It's not just white men. We're losing them. We're losing them to these guys online. We're losing them people that I'm bringing on this podcast as well. That's why I brought.
These are bad guys, though. These are bad guys.
But they exist, and we could deny they exist. They exist. Not only they exist, they persist, and they're actually.
It's abundantly clear to me that Tim Walz does not understand what masculinity is, based on his demeanor and his constant comparisons of manhood to activities rather than attributes.
But I think this notion of toxicity in masculinity needs to be separated, and I think it's been conflated. And I think we're going to have to work on that a little bit. And I think there is a crisis.
I think some of us scare them. I think I scare them a little bit why they spend so much time on it. No, I'm serious, because I can fix a truck. They know I'm not bullshitting.
When Walz was chosen as Kamala Harris's running mate, Democrats immediately saw it as an opportunity to, quote, win back the men they had alienated with their anti-male, antagonistic rhetoric and irreverent messaging toward us. Kamala Harris had a quintessential man problem, and they thought Tim Walz to shore up her failing male support in the polls. MSNBC fawned over him, portraying him as some sort of modern or new age man who is highly emotional, yet somehow internally macho.
Trying to own masculinity in the most regressive, sort of misogynist way possible. J.D. Vance lecturing everybody on, what a family means, what it means to be a man. Donald Trump obviously has his own version of manhood. To see Tim Walz out there as a man who is just joyfully embracing his role as the potential vice president to the woman, the nation's first female president, is an extraordinary thing. But also to see his son weeping for his father in a deeply tender and emotional way. And then the last thing I'll say, because I think this hasn't been talked about enough, to see Democrats champion men as voices on reproductive choice. Yeah. As you saw yesterday, I believe, from Amanda Zarowski's husband, tonight from Tim Walz, talking about struggles with infertility. It takes two partners to get pregnant. And for way too long, this conversation has been relegated to women or the carriers of pregnancies. And it is, I think, way overdue to have men express not only their stake in all this, but also their anguish. And to have a football coach talk about the anguish of infertility, I think opens up a whole new conversation about the stakes at hand for 2024.
And by the way, and I love that you're saying that, because this is about modern masculinity. Yes. Yeah. And in the Democratic Party, the coach that is saying that it's important for him as the football coach to be the faculty partner for the LGBTQ
Gay Straight Alliance.
The Gay Straight Alliance. And he's like, that's something important for me to do, because if a coach is doing it, it's going to have just a little more salience, right? And it's going to help kids not get bullied. I mean, what's really been fascinating is to watch the men of the Democratic Party model a kind of masculinity that is simply 21st century masculinity.
Speaking of 21st century masculinity, how about that?
Through the lens of there only being two types of men, either toxic or non-toxic, they spent so much time painting Trump as the toxic man that they were left with a try-hard, insecure figure like Tim Walz. There are many ways to tell someone is insecure about who they are, but a clear sign is that they spend far too much time trying to prove what they are instead of simply being it.
Man, I gotta say, Tim Walz is such a weird guy. And he's also a liar, as far as I'm concerned. You see, Tim Walz loves to brag about how great of a pheasant shooter he is.
Talking about guns, I guarantee you he can't shoot pheasants like I can.
And in his goofy attempt to prove to the world that he's this great mythical pheasant shooter, all he ends up doing is proving that he's nothing more than a FUD who doesn't know anything about how his own shotgun works.
Well, vice presidential nominee Tim Walz doesn't exactly exude alpha male energy, and his weekend hunting trip hasn't helped.
No, Walz looked more like Elmer Fudd than a real shooter, which, let's be honest, is probably a good thing based on this vision.
My theory.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff.
So Tim Walz thought, I know how I'll win folks over. I'll do a pheasant hunting photo op. I'll slap on some blaze orange, grab a shotgun, and boom, I'll become a 2A god. Except watching Walz try to pull off this little stunt was like watching someone try to convince you they're a world-class chef and then burning ramen noodles. Look, I can tell if someone knows guns the second they pick them up. I mean, look at the way he's holding the shotgun. You can literally feel the awkwardness. He's holding the shotgun like he just picked up a tampon. Meanwhile, the guy next to him was carrying his like he's been here before.
Right. Gotta say this is the first for a pheasant hunt for me.
I know.
Happens all the time here, honey.
So we were saying, Matt, when it was Scott and I, just the two of us, it was a little different.
Yeah, I'll bet.
They're working. Those guys are ready to go.
Okay. Keep walking. Okay, we can do that. All right.
He might as well have been waving that thing around like a magic wand. He damn near muzzled his homeboy. Honestly, the only thing in danger that day were the people unfortunate enough to stand too close to him.
Trump doesn't incessantly talk about how he's a, quote, real man, or use every media appearance to convince you he's relatable to men through some stereotypical male activity. Whether you love or hate Trump, he just is himself. He's confident, not because he says he's confident, but because he simply is. A person who explicitly tells you how smart they are likely isn't smart and doesn't believe it themselves. This applies to any other internal attribute. It's not for someone to tell you their character. It's for others to assess it for themselves. Tim Walz believes that masculinity is measurable by the activities he's participated in and by bragging about how great he is at a given male-associated pursuit.
I'm a veteran and damn proud of 24 years of that. I'm a hunter and pretty good at that. And every year they do a congressional trap shoot. I was one of the best shots in Congress after all those years running. I got the trophies to prove it. I can outshoot these guys.
Now, while there are activities typically associated with men, those activities don't make you masculine or a man. Tim Walz loves to bring up how he hunts, but there are women who hunt too. That doesn't make them men or masculine. Walz's insecurity aligns with my biggest problem with the political left and how they equate the essence of manhood with a list of activities instead of personal qualities. It's no different from saying womanhood is equivalent to wearing dresses and makeup, which is an absurd low threshold. So, what is a masculine man? Masculine men are balanced individuals who are not easily toppled emotionally. They are confident in their capabilities while maintaining humility and acknowledging where they fall short.
If there's anybody that understands middle America, it's a guy that grew up on a farm, that hunts, that fishes, that was a teacher, that goes to the state fair all of the time. I'm not sure J.D. Vance could find a hardware store in Appalachia, but Tim Walz can, and I bet you he can fix your car for you, too, before he actually goes to the governor's mansion and runs a really great state. So I feel really good about the...
Masculine men are calm under pressure, yet recognize the need to step away from conflict when necessary. These men are purpose-driven and willing to sacrifice themselves for the people they love. Plenty of masculine men don't know how to fix a car, play football, or hunt, because these activities never define what it is to be a man. They are simply pursuits that men can bond over, learn from, or use to accentuate what they already possess. Walz is what I would define as a performative man. He's a guy who is always trying to prove himself to the world, which is why he's constantly talking about supposedly manly things he does. He sounds incredibly goofy when he tries to talk tough, as if this middle-aged man is prepared to get into the streets and fight at a moment's notice. But masculine men don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. They don't speak recklessly, especially about engaging in violent acts.
All right, this thing, old school carburetor, You can always tell something about somebody's maintenance when how clean their air filter is. Look, to be able to work on this thing, you got a manual. It shows you exactly what to do to fix things on this. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have a manual too. It's called Project 2025, and it's a way to stick it to the middle class by giving tax cuts to the wealthiest. Look, they didn't give me a manual for this if you didn't plan on using it to fix your truck. They didn't create that Project 2025 just to have it set around as a doorstop. We know who these guys are. We know they got a playbook to rig the economy. Let's make sure it doesn't. And you can always tell, again, somebody, if they keep a clean air filter, they do good maintenance.
If you are something, you don't have to convince anyone to believe it. People can tell what's genuine and what isn't. Tim Walz isn't some new age masculine man. He's an insecure guy who desperately wants you to believe he's something more than he actually is. If you like this video and you want to support my work, please become a subscriber on my Substack at adambcoleman.substack.com and check out the products of XXXY, just like the shirt I'm wearing here, by going to xx-xyathletics.com/Adam. Thank you, and God bless.